Okay, now we're recording. Good. All right, so sharing my screen again, going over the checkpoints that are due. All right. So first one we're talking about is checkpoint one, word choice annotations. You can find it on Summit. You want to scroll down and find the canonical poems resource. That's going to look like this, right? And you're going to use these links to pick two poems, right? I know there's three boxes. You only have to do two, right? And you're going to copy and paste the poem into this box and then analyze it accordingly based on the directions up here. You can highlight it, you can type underneath it, whatever you want to do. There are class recordings on the Yes Philly YouTube channel where I kind of go over this
Mr. V.
in more detail, so you can check those out to get a kind of better sense. What's up, Dej?
Why is there already poems on the page though? Like up top where it say my poem selection.
Oh, like there's already a title there.
Yeah, it's like 3 titles there already.
That might have been either I was editing in the wrong part and I put it on there by mistake, or you might have started it before and then forgot and then like put another one up there, but it saves it on Summit. So if you want and you're kind of like if you haven't really done it yet and you're kind of like starting now, you can just delete those and just start again,
Okay.
right?
Bless you.
That could be the only that's probably why. So again, you're choosing two poems from this resource of canonical poems, right? And they have them here for you to kind of copy paste. And then you're putting those poems. So put the title for each in the corresponding box and then copy paste them here. And then you're kind of analyzing them based on these directions. And again, there are recordings on the YouTube page. Hey, Relisha, recordings on the YouTube channel where I kind of go over that in more detail. So I would start with checking those out first to get a kind of better idea of what to do there. All right. Questions with checkpoint one. Right. And Relisha, if you're just joining us, we are going over everything that is due for the end of the term. If you missed some stuff, the class recording will be up on the YouTube page later today, right? So you can always check back there, and you can also always come see me in the Summit Lab. All right. Questions about checkpoint one? Cool. Right. Lose. Alicia James. Oh, it doesn't look like anybody. Cool. All right. So, oh, there we go. Hey, Denim. All right, so again, for those of us who are just joining, we're going over all our stuff that's due. We've said already that we're looking for checkpoint one. Class recordings of me going over how to do it are up on YouTube already. So you can head to the Yes Philly YouTube channel. I would look maybe last week or the week before, or maybe if it's not there, a little bit further back, but definitely in December, for me to detail how to go over that checkpoint. And then if you still have questions, you can check with me. All right, so that's checkpoint one. And again, just a reminder for Relisha and Denim who just joined, we're not worrying about either of these two final products here. Okay, what I'm going to be grading everybody on is checkpoints one and two. Okay, so that's checkpoint one, the word choice annotations. Everybody's good on that. All right, checkpoint two, the mini pitch. There are two things we want to focus on here. One of them is this activity that says our song lyrics poetry that some of you who have been coming to class should recognize as familiar. Okay, you click that, it looks like this, right? You're going to do the first two sections here. So you see number one says read about it, okay, and then section two says evaluate the poetry, and then there's section three down here. We're not going to worry about this section, okay? We're just going to do the first two sections. And essentially all you're doing here is reading this article about Bob Dylan winning the Pulitzer Prize. And Relisha, I know I still owe you a Amazon gift card for this. I didn't forget. All right. And as you read the article, you're going to highlight in green statements that express that he should have won the prize, right? And then you're going to highlight in purple statements that express, why he should not have won the prize. So you're going to be looking for those things. And again, there is a recording of me going over this in class that you can watch for some greater detail. And then after you do that, you're going to come back up here and answer these two questions in this space right here on the doc, right? Describe the overall viewpoint of those who believe Bob Dylan should have won. Describe the overall viewpoint of those that believe Bob Dylan should not have won. So basically tell me why each of those thinks that way. Once you do that, you're going to come down here to part 2, and this is where you're going to read the actual lyrics and evaluate them and highlight them accordingly. So, words and phrases that demonstrate poetry, words and phrases that are the quality of the canon. And again, who can remind us real quick what we mean when we say canon? What is that canon that we talk about in terms of literature? Does anybody remember what that is? You can tell us over your mic or in the chat. Right? We're not talking about a cannon like on a ship. We're talking about something else. Does anybody remember what that is from when we went over it earlier? Any thoughts? We know it's a collection of something, right? What is it a collection of, right? And here's another hint, if I told you things like Romeo and Juliet and A Tale of Two Cities and, Walt Whitman and Edgar Allan Poe poems, those are all part of the canon. What do you think the canon is a collection of then? If I tell you things like that are in the canon. Anybody refresh our memory here of what that is? Any best guesses? Relisha, Denham, Jair, anybody? It's a collection of what? No guesses? I know somebody's out there because we were very talkative about Marvel and DC. So who can help me out with this?
Those all sound like very well-known parts of the, I'm trying to help you out here.
So what do we think? I've already told you it's a collection of certain things. We talk about it when we talk about literature, and I already gave you a few examples of stuff that might be included in the canon. So what do you think the canon is then? And we have talked about this in classes before, if anybody can find it deep enough in their memory. But a collection of what kind of works? Works that are just okay, or works that we think are the pinnacle, the best example of what literature can be? Which one of those do you think it is? And if I've already given you some of those examples of stuff that might be in the canon, like Shakespeare, Edgar Allan Poe, Charles Dickens, Walt Whitman, things like that. Emily Dickinson, Toni Morrison. What do we think? Would it be a collection of, just any work, whatever, or a collection of only like the best possible works we can think of? What do you guys think? I think at least somebody out there can give me an answer on this. What do we think?
Maybe Dr. Dave knows.
I know. Who knows? You can answer me in the chat. You can come off mute. Right? But sooner we get an answer for this, sooner we can keep going over what's due, and you guys can get working on stuff. I gotta make sure there's still life out there.
Maybe you can relate it to music, right? Like if you took
that's actually a good point, Miss Kelsey, because that's actually what I'm going to go over in a few minutes here for the last checkpoint. But that is kind of the idea right here with this activity, right? And Bob Dylan. So they're saying, is Bob Dylan, is his music worthy of being in the canon? but we can't really answer that question until we remember what the canon is, right? And so if you think about a good example or a good kind of analogy would be if I told you, give me the best hip hop albums from the 2000s or the 2010s. All right. The collection of those, like that list that you give me, Kendrick Lamar, Childish Gambino, whatever it might be. Okay. That list that you give me is a canon. You just created a canon because a canon is a collection of what we deem the best examples of that genre that are out there. So the literary canon would be the list of the best examples of what we classify as like the peak of literature. So that's why we talk about things like Shakespeare and Walt Whitman and Charles Dickens and all these classic texts. And now it's starting to be expanded more and more. So it's less old dead white guys and more people of color like Toni Morrison, right, or Langston Hughes. Okay. And so the point of this activity here under checkpoint 2 on Summit mini pitch is to explore the idea that, can song lyrics be classified as poetry, which can then be, put into the canon. So when you're doing the second part of this activity here, you're looking for lines, words, or phrases of the song that look like poetry, feel like poetry to you, lines, words, or phrases that feel like they're the quality of the canon, that collection of the best kind of works we have, right? And then lines, words, or phrases that don't look like feel like poetry to you, lines and words or phrases that do not feel like they're the quality of the canon to you. All right. So that's what we're kind of looking at here in this activity. And again, there is a class recording of me going over this in greater detail on the YouTube channel. So don't be afraid to check that out. Okay. Is everybody with me on that? All right. Questions, concerns about that so far? All right. And I think what'll help with that is what we're going to go over right now, which is how to do the last thing that I'm going to be looking for to be turned in. Okay. Which is the actual checkpoint for checkpoint 2 mini pitch. So again, we're not worrying about either either of the final products. We're just worrying about checkpoints 1 and 2. And then the kind of checkpoint for checkpoint 2, the mini pitch, is what I'm kind of going to count as your final product. So the checkpoint looks like this. Again, you can find it in Summit right here. It should all be assigned to you. And what you're going to do here, if we read the directions, it says introduce a text or artifact from pulp culture and explain why it qualifies as poetry. And then explain how its word choices create an overall impact on its meaning, excuse me, or tone. So essentially, we're going to think about that idea of the canon, right? The collection of the best literary works, the best examples of literary works that we have. And we're going to think of something from pop culture, whether it is a song or a scene from a movie or a movie itself, a scene from a TV show, okay, a poem that we know, right? And you're going to copy paste it here and you're going to explain to me why you think it qualifies as poetry and why you think it deserves to be in the canon, all right? And how its word choices help to do that. And so for an example, I'm going to share mine with you, all right? So the one I've chosen, my artifact that I've chosen, is a song by an artist named Sam Henshaw, okay? The song's called Thoughts and Prayers, all right? So if I were doing this checkpoint, what I would do here is I would copy paste the lyrics, okay? Control C. Then I would go back to my checkpoint and I would hit Control Shift V so that it copies it in the same one, okay? All right. And so now I have copied the lyrics and then I will play you guys the song real quick so you can hear it as well. Because remember, poems are meant to be read out loud and performed. Songs are meant to be heard, obviously. So, we don't get the full scope of emotion unless we hear it too. So when you're doing this, if you're doing a song and stuff like that, make sure you listen to it once or twice as well, rather than just reading the lyrics. because that might help you decide, okay, this is how the words affect the meaning of the tone and why it should be considered poetry. So I'm going to play this for everybody real quick. Hopefully you can hear it through my screen share. Hello, stranger. Girl's in danger, but you won't fight hard enough to save us. It ain't your issue, it ain't your sister, it ain't your mission. You don't get it, do you? Cause if that were me, I would've, maybe I would've thought for a second. So maybe I should've. Blood on my hands after all. Oh God, blood on my hands after all. Now my head said my prayers. I'm the good one, ain't I? Wash my hands of all my sins. I'm the good guy, ain't I? If everyone were like me, could there be the change I'd like to see? Ain't I good? Ain't I right? Did I try? But if I can, I give more than thoughts and prayers. Said the burden's more than yours to bear. But ego's on my side. Am I as good as I say if I try? We try, we try, we try. Oh, we try, we try. Hello, Pop. The world's got problems. You won't work hard enough to solve them. Cause you ain't Christian, and you ain't Muslim, and you might kill over race and color. If that had been someone that I knew, then I would've probably laughed at his race jokes when I should've. Is it blood on my hands after all? Blood on my hands after all. Shake out my hands and my prayers. I'm the good one and I wash my hands of all my sins. I'm the good one and I if everyone were like me, yeah. Could that be the change I like to see? Ain't I good? Ain't I right? Did I try? Yeah, yeah. But if I can, oh, why get more than thoughts and prayers? I said the burden's more than yours to bear. Oh yeah, oh but the ego's on my side. My good as I say it, I try. Oh, do we try? Do we try? We try. Oh yeah. Do we try? Do we try? Do we try? Am I as good as I say? If I don't try, rub out my head, send my prayers. Oh, no, 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 no. Said I'll wash it off, I'll wash it off, yeah. All right, it's basically the whole tune. Okay. So now I've copy pasted the lyrics. I've listened to it. All right. I can kind of get it in my head. And now I want to explain, all right, like it says up here, why it qualifies as poetry, how its word choices create an overall impact on its meaning or tone, and then, why I think it should be considered in the canon. Okay. So, the first part, I might start out by saying, I think the song should be considered poetry because, and then I might talk about, the rhyme scheme. I might talk about the wordplay. I might talk about the emotions it invokes. Okay, why should it be? When I think about poetry, does this song meet all of those kind of qualifications I already have in my head? And so then I would share that here. Maybe a short paragraph, right? Then after that, I want to tackle this second part, okay? Explain how its word choices create an overall impact on its meaning or tone, right? So those of you who, were able to listen and hear, what stood out to you? What was kind of the overall meaning or tone in this song? Were you able to take anything away from it? I know it might have been hard to hear over the screen share, but you can kind of also see the lyrics here too. But does anybody have any thoughts or opinions on what his kind of uh, overall meaning was here in this song? What was he talking about? Yeah, the song's called Thoughts and Prayers, right? So, you know, who is he sending thoughts and prayers out to? You know, why is he sending them thoughts and prayers? You know, is he saying it, kind of ironically? Uh, you know, can anybody kind of take any kind of meaning or tone away from the song after listening and kind of seeing the lyrics here in front of us? What do we think? Or have we continued to go silent today?
I'll say religious.
Say it one more time.
Religious. Like a religion type thing.
Did you say? I'm sorry, my heat kicked on, so it's harder to hear, Jair. I'm sorry.
Huh?
But did you say it's like a relationship type thing?
Religious. You can say relationship, but
Oh, he does mention religion, right? And we can even see that. All right, like here in the second verse, right? Hello, partner, the world's got problems, but you won't work hard enough to solve them because you hate Christians, you hate Muslims, and you might kill over race and color. All right, so so Jair's definitely right. He talks about religion, and he's saying, hey, there's all this stuff going on, but you're not really working to solve it because of the biases you already have. All right. So when he says thoughts and prayers here, we think about how a lot of times when there's a mass shooting or a national disaster or an earthquake, stuff like that, people always say, okay, well, we're sending out thoughts and prayers to those people. We're sending out thoughts and prayers to the victims, right? But what he's kind of saying here is, well, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what he's saying. I'll ask you guys as well. Like, do you think, people should send out thoughts and prayers, or they should actually do something about it? Do you think one kind of works the same way as the other, or, yeah, it's good to send out thoughts and prayers, but you should also be asking yourself, what can I do to help with this situation? What do you guys think? In other words, here's another way to word it. If there was a shooting in your community, would you rather, people in power, like in the city council, government, whatever, would you rather them say, oh, we're sending out thoughts and prayers, or would you rather them, enact a policy to limit gun violence? Would you rather, somebody who hears about it on the news say, oh, I'm sending out thoughts and prayers, or would you rather them sign a petition?
Involved.
Say it again.
Yeah, I'd rather them get involved.
Get involved, exactly, right? Because if we're getting involved, we can actually enact change. If we just sit behind saying, oh, I'm sending out thoughts and prayers, while it's a nice sentiment, and if you believe that means something, then that's great. But what he's saying here in this song is that a lot of us can do something, but we don't, and instead we just send out thoughts and prayers. So think about why you're doing that. And he kind of says it in the first verse too. Right, the girl's in danger, but you won't fight hard enough to save her. It's not your issue. It's not your sister. It's not your message. Right. So, okay, it's not somebody directly related to me. So, I don't really care enough to do something about it. Instead, I'll just send out thoughts and prayers. So, the whole kind of message here that Jair has helped us point out, the whole kind of tone of the song, is one of like almost, I would say disappointment. I don't know if either of you would use a different word. And Dr. Dave, Miss Kelsey, you guys can chime in here too as well, if you have any thoughts. But his whole kind of tone here is one of disappointment, that like a lot of us have this kind of tendency to just fall back on sending out thoughts and prayers rather than actually doing something about what's going on here. So it's kind of disappointment, but I also sense kind of a tone of hopefulness at the end too. Like maybe if we realize this, we can actually start to get involved and kind of enact change here. All right. So all that being said, now I can address the second part here, right? Explain how the word choice creates an overall impact on its meaning or tone. All right. And I would answer that by, again, you could just state the question, and say the word choice creates a tone of, and then for this specific example, I would say contains a tone of disappointment and if I can remember how to spell, but also hope. Because of the way the author uses certain phrases to convey the meaning of the song, which is that people need to get involved, not just send out thoughts and prayers, right? And then for this one, I would want to provide an example of that, obviously, because you always want to back your stuff up with an example. So I could say something like, he shows this in the line, and then we could point out the one Jair mentioned about religion. Okay. So then I can, that's not what I wanted to do. So then I can copy that, right? And again, put it in quotes because I'm quoting it. And now you can leave it like that if you want. I like to do mine like this. I just put kind of a backslash after each kind of phrase. All right. So I quote the line, and then we already said, this line shows how people won't get involved in issues about religion or violence about religion because it doesn't relate to them specifically. Okay. And then I could continue to analyze it even beyond that. Okay. Really explain, because of these words and phrases, I feel this way when I read this poem, when I hear this song, when I watch this movie, whatever it might be, right? That's how you want to think about this. And then the last part here, all right? The last part here would be this artifact. You can also say song, poem, whatever it is too. Deserves to be in the canon because, and then I would, finish that out. So maybe I would say something like, this song represents a lot of the issues facing the world right now. And we should have, the canon of literature should always represent, its contemporary time. So this should be included because it shows, the kind of literature that has evolved from what's going on in the world right now. That would be how I would answer it. You can answer it however you would like. But this kind of gives you an idea of what I'm looking for here. So when you're filling this out, you should have those 4 things. You should copy paste whatever it is you're looking at. If you're looking at like a movie, then obviously you can't copy paste it. You can just tell me like what movie or what scene from that movie you're looking at. Okay. And then tell me, I think this song should be considered, why should it be considered poetry? Analyze the word choice like we did here. Okay. And then tell me why it deserves to be in the canon. Right. So you can see based on what I've typed, this should be, about a good paragraph or two. Right. So definitely more than, just a couple sentences for each part. Right. And then, ladies and gents, once you complete this checkpoint like that, you are good to go. Like I said, we're not going to worry about either of the final products here, just because of the way that the timing and the pacing of the term worked out. So I'm only focused on checkpoint 1, the word choice annotations, right? I'm focused on our song lyrics poetry activity from checkpoint 2, right? Just the first 2 sections. Read about it. Evaluate the poetry. Don't worry about the last part. Okay. And then I'm focused on the actual checkpoint itself, the mini pitch, which is what we demonstrated in class today. Okay. Are there questions on any of that I've gone over so far?
When is this gonna be posted?
The recording
Yeah.
later today, like before 1 o'clock.
And when is the what's the name class? When is your breakout room?
The Summit Lab is from 1 to 3, and then don't forget that everything, and it's the same link for this class, and then everything is due the end of the day tomorrow because that is the end of the term. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, cool, ladies and gents. So here's the deal. I am going to put myself on mute. We have about 5 minutes left. All right. So what I'd like you all to do is in the chat, give me a number 1 to 5, telling me how you feel about what you need to get done and everything that is due for this class for the end of the term. 5 would be, I'm good to go. I know what's due. I'm pretty much caught up. It's gonna be no problem. 3 would be somewhere kind of in the middle, like, I know what to do. I still have some stuff to finish up, but I think I'm okay. And then 1 or 2 would be like, I need a lot of help. I'm a little behind. I might have to come to the lab or whatever it might be. All right. Put that in the chat for me now. I already got one from Nazir. I got one from Jair. Thank you. All right. So Deja Denim, let me know in the chat as well how you guys are at. And then once I see that from you in the chat, you guys are good to go for today. So you can get working on this stuff. I will be in the Summit Lab from 1 to 3. And then you can also shoot me an email if you have a question about anything. And then the class recording will be up on YouTube later as well. Okay. I'll be in the chat for a few more minutes here on mute. If you still have questions, then I'll wrap it up around 11:25. Okay. But good job. All right. And good luck with all this stuff. And thank you, Deja. I got your number as well just now. Thank you.